Hey everybody, listen to the Combo Wombo podcast. I'm Chip. With me is always the Mr. Kippy.
Oh, you gotta add a little Whitney Houston to the end there. You kind of sing-songed me in. I liked it.
Dude, I almost hit you with the Kimpy, dude. Sipping up on his coffee, dude. What you got there?
I don't know what the Kimpy is, but just a little normal brew. You know, just a little
Some
creamer,
breakfast brew.
I drink this coffee called Killa Caffeine.
All right, dude.
Just order it through their website. It's not even a sponsor, dude. I'm just giving them free clout, dude. The coffee's delicious.
Yeah. Doing anything free for clout, bro.
Nah, man, you don't even have to do nothing. Just give me a nice, delicious product, and you got me. You know.
Dang, you sold out, dude. You're like Cody Rhodes to the Rock, bro.
Nah, Cody Rhodes did not sell out, dude. Did you watch Elimination Chamber?
More John Cena. No, it's just all the highlights.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to see what was going on with that. Me and the lads were. Theory crafting that they're going to do a soul on a pole match. So we'll see how this plays out.
Do the bra and panty match for the soul.
Yeah, they put it up on a steel cage. It's a ladder.
Right.
Wouldn't be the first time, dude.
I'm going to be the last. Speaking of WWE, just a little update on that.
All right, dang, dude. This is sponsored by WWE.
Fuck, you know.
I was watching some TNA. Is it Joe Hendry?
Whoa. What are you talking about here, brother?
Pretty decent, dude.
Yeah, Joe Hendry's good.
Yeah.
Carefully say his name.
Showed up, dude.
He will appear.
Could be anywhere, dude. But that was a fun segment. I watched that, dude.
Okay. Now, we're here to talk about some game dev. You know what I mean? A little crafted.
Ricky Saints showed up, dude. NXT. Finally got released from his AEW contract. Yeah.
That's true.
I was excited about that.
Well, clearly you want to watch. Let's talk about wrestling for a little bit. So let me ask you this.
That was all
No. We're getting full bore into it, dude. We're switching the podcast format. We're just all wrestling all the time.
This week, dude. No, dude. I've mostly been catching up on different things that are going on out there in the wrestling world, and wondering what happened to AEW, dude. I was kind of sad about it. It's I don't know. They want to be more combat sports, and I was telling my buddy about this because when I first saw that they showed up, I went to their website. I was like, oh, what's this all about? And even their website had everybody listed like UFC fighters with like their win-loss records and stuff.
That was their gimmick. They want wins and losses to matter.
Yeah, I was like, that could be really interesting. You get like your, matchmaker Dana White style character in there, and then my buddy was like, "We have real combat sports, so this isn't like going to compete with that, and it's not entertaining." Like, I think that's been everyone's biggest complaint is like, there's not like that sports entertainment aspect of it, with like storylines and stuff.
Like a soap opera, yeah.
They just kind of go nowhere with any of the stories that they do have kind of going. They just put on great matches, and there's this very small niche market for that, and it's no problem,
I'd say they did have some classic wrestling storylines when they first started, when Cody was still involved.
Yeah.
Like Kenny Omega holding all the belts. That was interesting as hell.
Dude.
I loved that.
Undefeatable,
I loved heel
dude. Platinum.
The Christian Cage, stuff that's been going on was phenomenal. But you're right. Like when they do the bread and butter wins-loss thing, it's not as interesting. John Moxley kind of leaned into that, but he also leaned into the vicious side of his character, which was much more interesting. But the problem is,
Danielson showed up, and that made that all the more worthwhile.
We've mentioned 4 people, and that's the 4 interesting things of a show of 3 shows that are like 2 hours each. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not really there.
I feel like we've gotten into the era of like content, like because like there's so many different avenues that are just buying up content to fill up like their hour blocks.
Sure.
So they're just like, oh, we'll just spin this off into its own show and sell it. Somebody will buy it for like $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they do. It's hundreds of millions of dollars that they're for broadcasting rights and everything else. So
yeah, man. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. So let me jump in here to the little pod topipic here because I didn't tell you what it was yet.
Man. Video games, dude. Making them, playing them.
You did participated in the scummiest practice of all time, but I see both sides.
What's that, man? Come on, dude.
Full AI generated game
Oh yeah, just
with
had
just
it.
giving it a prompt saying make this game.
Yeah, dude, take my vague idea and spin a prototype for me.
You idea guide the entire project, which
Yeah,
was insane that it worked, right?
yeah,
But
dude, it got it. Like I'm using that new Claude 3.7. They just dropped that, and I've always used Claude for like any programming assistance because they've been the best, in my opinion, the paid version.
sure,
So you can use like project files and it has like some logic to it, and then it also has like a plug-in for Visual Studio. So if you run into like an error with like something you program, you can be like,
yeah,
"Hey, I'm getting this error. Like, what's going on here?" And it can help you out. It usually causes more problems than it fixes, but
sure,
it's gotten better, and like this latest iteration's like way better,
sure,
which I
sure.
showed you, and you're like,
Yep.
"What the heck is this?"
Yeah. So, and for everyone listening too, my initial thought is Steam shovelware. This is the slippery slope that I'm watching in real time for
I mean, where have you been,
unscrupulous
bro? Steam's already
individuals
full of a
too.
bunch
It is
of
already full of
shovelware,
shovelware, but this is like
viruses,
you
and
prompted
everything.
it to just make shovelware. You know what I mean?
I gave it my idea, bro. I'm an ideas guy. I showed you my game design doc, and
You did. Yep.
yeah, I was like, "Here's my game design doc." So I just copied that all over, and then I added like a screenshot I made in like PowerPoint with like primitives. You're like, "Did you come up with all that? Did it make anything?" I was like, "No,
Yeah.
man. Here's the
It's incredibly
screenshot."
powerful for what happened. Now, I just want to get your opinion of it. So, describe the game a little bit. We'll say Project Banana, and
Yeah,
then we'll talk
I think we
about.
may have talked a little bit about it on here before, but it's basically like a five, like you could think of it as like a dice rolling game or like a board game where it's like 5 spaces and then like a boss space is like the 6th space.
Mm-hmm.
And you roll a dice, and in between each turn, you get to place like cards that modify the spaces you land on. So you can power up like your character or weaken the boss. And the final square is like the boss square. And like after you defeat the boss, you start back over at square one and you just run it back. It's pretty simple. To me, it was like, oh, it's just kind of like I like to boil down ideas to like simple things and try and like find the fun in those mechanics.
Yep.
But just being able to like quickly get that prototype out there, I was like able to like tell you, I was like, oh yeah, this isn't. And I've heard this before. I think it was like the Game Maker's Toolkit where he was talking about like the human mind's like really bad at like simulating games in your mind, like
Shout
how
out
fun they'll
Mark
be,
Brown.
and like yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know, like it's helping find the fun in like the process where I was like, okay, I can see like several problems. It's not very intuitive user design. You end up like just kind of stacking the modifiers on the boss square because you're going to end up there and you have to stay there for several rounds to fight.
Yep.
There's nothing with the modifications yet, but even that, it's like, it doesn't matter because like even the more basic gameplays like kind of busted. And that was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to like spend a few hours like coming up with the game, and then like this last time I just like gave it that prompt and like it pooped it right out, dude, right into the shovelware heap. And I was like, all right, I could try it. I played it, and I was like, man, this game, it's not bad, but it's not good. It just felt like very like milk toast, where it's like I don't understand the point of this. It seems like
So at this point, you're talking about this Vampire Survivors inspired game with the time rewind mechanic.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I came up with that as well. Like that was like a very different game. That was like us playing a lot of Vampire Survivors on HIO, and I was like thinking about that and like making some sort of tower defense type game with that. But then I was like, yeah, let me just see if it can make like a quick Vampire Survivors clone. So I just added that in, and then I was like, let me add like a little twist to it, which is time rewind. So when you're moving your character around, you fill up like your time gauge, and then you hold spacebar and like you rewind. And and there's upgrades, incremental roguelite upgrades in that, and it was fun. I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool. Like I sent it to people, and they were like, "Yo, I beat this," and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I was like, "I didn't even beat it." Did I played like it for a while, but so I think there's something there for that. Like I don't know. It's giving me like a really cool like jump off pad for like a quick prototype. I wouldn't put these out there as like final games, but I could see the problem of people being like, "Yeah, this is it, man. This is my vague idea, and I could throw it on Kickstarter or something, and people will give me money. Then I'll just hire some more people that know what they're doing, and they'll finish the rest."
Yeah. The idea guy is evolving.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Yeah, the idea guy needs a bad guy, dude. Somebody with the money to fund the endeavor. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was almost magical I think that we're
seeing the project, go just get to that point of a playable prototype was incredible, honestly.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, I just like copy paste, threw in the prompt, threw in the picture, and I was like, make this for me. And it was like, here you go.
Yeah.
And
No,
I'm
sure.
Holy shit.
I'm sure.
But like 30 seconds later, it's like,
I'll say,
some toes popping off.
Because it just took exactly what you said to make the thing, right? You lose that aspect of iterative design though when you're, because like for Project Banana, right, the parts that where you found you just put all of the modifiers in the boss square, you would find that with coding and making the gameplay systems yourself, and you would find it earlier and you could have refined it prior. So that's
30 seconds, bro, like from rip to script to popped out like the oven, bro, like that's it doesn't get much earlier than that, dude. Like even if I like program those scripts, like conservatively, it would have taken me 3.5, 4 hours to get to like that point.
I think you'd have a more complete prototype though, like feeling.
That's true. Yeah. But like prototypes are, in my opinion, meant to be discarded. Like I've spent like 2-3 months on different various prototypes. I've shown you them. I think we started trying to share them like on X or whatever, like putting out like little GIFs of like different, and like each of those I've probably spent like a month to 4 or 6 months on.
Yeah.
And I've just, got to be able to scrap them. Like, famously I spent like 6 months on that top down game where you like go around and like I added a car and I was like, fuck, this is funner than everything else I've done up until this point. Like, and I don't know how to make the rest of it as fun as that.
Yeah.
It's like a cursed game design problem that I guess is like known about as well. But, it's fun to do. It's you find those problems and then like you try and find unique solutions and ideas in between there, kind of like you're saying, like while you're building it. But it's incredibly soul crushing to like, be like 3 months deep in the prototype and then like have it all like fall apart, or you just not find the fun, or like I've spent like a few weekends making various things like the Crossfire, game where I was like, Crossfire, let me just throw this out there real quick. And I was like, it's Crossfire. It's like, it was equally as fun as like the old board game that people, where you play like, what's it dressed? I'm like, oh, that was it, dude. Like, you're like, that was it. You're like, that's kind of shit. And you're like, yeah, but all you need is like really is a catchy, theme song. And
gets you 90% of the way fast,
there. Slash cuts, pans, zooms, dude. You're like, oh man, this is amazing. So,
yeah. So with you going over to the dark side of the shovelware generator, how'd you feel about it? How'd you feel about taking away your own projects? Just like bare like overview. How'd you feel about it, the state of it right now, and the potential for either good or bad, and where do you lean on if it's a good tool or if it's a bad tool overall?
I felt this way about like most AIs. Like it's, I think you're still going to need a lot of the soft skills to even understand. Like I've said, it's basically like a genie, like a djinn, where it's like it'll give you exactly what you asked for type of thing. Where it's like, oh no, this has gone cursedly. Like I didn't expect it to be like literally what I want, but. I also had that exact same experience learning to program, from the start. Yeah. Whereas like, you get the monkey paw. But even like learning programming, you're like, oh, I need to tell this exactly what to do in like the follow-up logic and then how it should, react in various scenarios. Whereas like when I first started, I was like, this is a game engine. It should just do like game engine type things. If I tell this thing to go away, it should just go, away. But it doesn't. It'll just like hang out there, and you just learn like specifically how to code for those things. I think the same thing is kind of true with like AI right now, where it's like it's kind of a tool. It's good at like documentation, like showing you visuals of like how scripts work together. It's good at like getting you like if you like I've never been against this where you buy things from the asset store and like to help you get up like a demo.
You have actually softened my initial opinions on that, and it's been helpful to me in getting projects complete. So I appreciate that. But go on,
so it'll help you like quickly understand like scripts and stuff. Like if you've ever like read like the reviews in a lot of like assets that are out there to buy that are like templates for games, most of it's like, this is too complicated. I don't understand like what this fucking guy was writing. This is kind of like poorly coded. Because they coded a thing to do a specific thing, or like some things do specific, but like
they're supposed to be guidelines, not finals too.
It's like it's a jumping off point. It's not like this is a whole thing. You can just, but you see those end up as shovelware as well all the time. Where it's like, this is just an asset flip. But even that, like knowing how to program now, like I had one that I was trying out where it's like a 3D kind of like flying game. And I was trying to figure out how to like trigger the plane to launch off and fly. And I was able to just kind of like read through the code real quick. And I'm like, oh, I don't need this script, or this script. Yeah. And then I can trigger it with like just like this quick function call. And I'll just bind that to like a key real quick on the start of the game. Or I have it start at the start with a call, you know, it was like on start, you know, call this function. So I was able to like just add like 1 or 2 lines of code and then like get rid of like 4 bloat scripts that they were using specifically for that template. But I knew how to do that. Like I was able to like look through the different code and like be like, all right, what's going on here? And then like, you know, through the process of elimination, figure it out. If you don't know how to do that, dude, like AI will just like spit out some shit that like exactly how you asked for. Like you're going to be very confused. Like I've been watching like for the last like 2 years, like different YouTubers who will be like, I'm going to get this AI to make a whole game for me right away. And they'll give it like kind of like a single prompt. They've been doing exactly what I just did, but like, you know, 2 years ago, and they're like, here's a single prompt. And they're like, and this is shit. So let me try and like, you know,
refine the prompts and
find the prompts, finesse it, and spend my time and expertise trying to fix like a really badly programmed exactly what I asked for type of thing.
Yeah.
But if you know the steps that you need to do and you know what you need to do to make a thing already, like if you know how to make a video game, it's kind of, you just have promoted yourself from like a, you know, beginner, you know, kind of like intern programmer to like a more senior programmer where it's like just giving you the script and like you're figuring out how to like better implement it into the software architecture that you're working with.
Now, to finish that series of questioning off, do you think it's good or bad overall?
You know, it's kind of like Thanos, dude. It feels inevitable. Seems like everyone's throwing all their money behind this.
Okay.
I've heard it said like this, where it's like it's not being used for good. Like the good idea would be that it's helping you, like artists, create their unique ideas. Instead, it's being used to replace like low-level artists and creative people and fire them and try and replace them with like something that's not quite ready for prime time.
Yeah.
So like ideally it would be like, oh, this is to help augment and like assist you like at your task, at your work. And then at the independent level, it's there to help you assist and like build out your creative ideas and innovate in the space. But it's like, it seems to like shun innovation. It's like priced out for like an average person for tokens and or by subscription models with it, and like the prices are only going up. You know, so yeah, this is I think it's like irrelevant, kind of like how we feel about it at this point. Like I think a lot of people hate it because of like it's stolen all of our data. Yeah, you know, to create these models, it's like everything that humanity's put up on the web and good faith to share and benefit humanity. It's like being privatized by like these megacorps to, you know, destroy good jobs and displace workers.
Every dystopian novel that deals with that, with AI and all of that, it's always learned from the internet and it's always gone wrong. So we're just making Skynet every time. You know what I mean? We have like 40 different Skynet, you know, alphas out right now. So I mean, you're right. It's inevitable.
I did have a dream about the Terminator last night, so
I feel
it's weighs heavily on my subconscious, maybe.
Yeah, the way I feel about it is, I think that it should be, if you're going to use it, I think using it as a tool versus as the final point, and you know who does what, right? I think using it for storyboarding, right, or for lack of a better term, storyboarding your code as well. It's like, hey, I want this gameplay idea, and you don't really know where to go with code, that you could just kind of use a prompt and just kind of get an idea of how that would work. But I don't think it replaces the full scope of what goes into creating a game. I think that it can be good to help with like, you know, writer's block, or you're stuck on a code block thing where you're just like, I can't figure it out. A lot of times it's like math or terms that it's just not working, and you need like a rubber duck to push forward. I think it's phenomenal for that. If I didn't have if I didn't have Sir Solid, shout out, I would probably use it a lot more, but a lot of times if I need it, I'd use you two or Professor as well as a rubber duck to talk through the problem. Sir Solus is working on a project right now, and we've been chatting quite a lot more about game dev design and what we're working on, and he used me as a rubber duck to figure out some platformer stuff, and I offered some suggestions from what I've known in my own creation prospect, and he solved quite a bit of issues through like a good 45-minute talk, which I think that AI used as a rubber duck can help quite a bit. But just for those of you who are even hobby dev or anything, I would advise do not use it as a crutch. Keep learning, because the moment you stop learning and you just start clicking buttons is the moment that you lose the heart and soul of the game that you're making, of the project you're making. So the more I'm doing like a lot more analysis of games now, and the more I play, the more you can feel that the developer had a vision. And when you feel that, a lot of times when you get to a point in some games, you don't feel the care taken to creating this game or this aspect, right? I'm going to use Sifu as an example. Sifu had a great combat model, great design, and the developers had so much TLC in that entire game. It just oozed care and love for martial arts films, beat 'em up video games, fighting combat, and just that like 70s design of martial arts films and stuff. It just oozed all of that, and it showed through the screen. Their next project is a competitive soccer game, which a lot of times you do sports games and it's just soulless, heartless, and it's just there to make money. This one has a very just Sifu like artistic the design decision, and it's a multiplayer game, and it's arcadey, and it looks like they're passionate about it just from the visuals. Like you can feel the passion for soccer, football for an international audience. You could feel it in the trailers. So, you could take something mundane and see the passion in it. Going back, we could see the original like first 4 Madden games where they're figuring it out, like Madden 92, 93. Like you could really feel that they're trying to get like American football just feeling right on a video game platform. NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, sports games like that, where it has a lot of like you feel the interjection of trying to make the sport translate to the digital platform. But now, and I mentioned
ever watched those old Midway videos of
I watched every
people
single one. Yep.
Every pitching like the ideas of NBA Jam, and like people just like not getting it. They're like, but why?
Yeah.
And they're like 2-on-2. This is crazy. Like nobody would play. So then they like finally got them in front of them. And they're like calling up people like, we got to get you in on this game. This is crazy.
Exactly.
You got to get in here. Like, this is amazing.
Exactly. And my point being, there's, passion behind it. So just to get off my soapbox here, I'd say like if you're using AI for it, use it as a tool, not as the end result. And if you start using it for the entire project, like just generating the whole thing instead of using it to help with code or something like that, you're sanitizing your own vision, and it might not. It's like the monkey's paw that you said, or the evil Jin. It's not going to come out exactly as you envision it, and you're robbing yourself of the experience of learning to code and learning to design and just getting your vision out there.
The happy little accidents that come along with iteration, like figuring things out.
Yeah,
man. I was watching, more to your point, I was watching this developers conference in India, and they were talking about how they're starting to become the games market, and like how come they're not producing great game studios there.
Yeah.
And then it was like a hour long presentation. I watched the whole thing, and most of the slides were just about like how much money is like in the market.
Yep.
And then like all the comments were like, bro, like you're taking this from the wrong angle. Like they're like, there's like several problems right now in India. And like one of them's like, we're getting better stories from the West and East, from like Japan and America.
Yep.
The second part is like you're focused too much on like how can we make it like extremely profitable, and then the third was basically like you're not coming up with like killer stories, like you're not coming up with like killer concepts. You're worried too much about like just kind of copycatting like what's already been done and doing like kind of like the shovelware generic version of those things. Instead of like new innovative ideas that are pushing things forward.
It's the commercialization of game dev problem, right? It's everything.
Man, everywhere,
Yeah, it is in every form of media, every form of art. It's when you commercialize something that is artful, you lose, the uniqueness, the feeling from it, and it becomes generic, and you just don't have interest in the medium before. Atari and the game dev crash initially because shovelware started happening. People saw a golden goose, and Nintendo came back and they demanded quality, right?
Yeah, so like even then you see like in the Wii when like the shovelware started attacking them there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a similar story,
Yeah, it's what's happening in just the entire industry right now because there's so much money involved. We have to sift through so much shovelware again. So as indies, as hobbyists, game devs, even if you're just trying to put out something fun, put out your vision, be proud of it, and I guess if you're passionate about it, the passion shows through the project, and it's a much better project for it. I think
sing your songs, dude, the way you want to sing them. Dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy, and he was kind of bringing up a similar problem with like Hollywood. He was like, "How come all these Hollywood movies are like really bad?" Because he loves cinema. He writes and he films stuff with people, and they make stuff. I don't want to dox anybody or anything, so I won't say what. But they're like in the industry or adjacent to it, and I'm like, "You think you could make a movie, like a studio movie?" And he was like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, all right, if I got you $20 million, could you do? He's like, oh, I don't want to be responsible for that kind of money. And I was like, also it has to make a return on profit, right? Like it needs to be, it has to beat the market, which is, 12%. So you gotta get at least like a 20 or 30% return. And then if you factor in that they're also doing like 50% on top of like the budget on advertising, you're looking more like a 35, to 60% return on like that initial investment. So, when money starts to get involved, when like bigger things happen, like there's like a fear of failure, so like you want like the deferred responsibility almost of like design by committee and stuff, and that's how you end up with like all these like bland watered down ideas that are out there right now with like video games and movies and everything else, where you're like, how come there's no like really great AAA games coming out right now? How come there's no really good Hollywood films that are being made? And there's still good games and good movies being made, but it's just usually by much smaller people, like groups. So yeah, it's like it seems at the high levels you just want to buff out like the rough edges to make it as widely appealing as possible. So yeah, I don't know, man. It feels like they're all kind of like imploding in on themselves, and I think like the AI to replace jobs is like part of that. It's like speeding it up. It's like a poison pill where it's like, oh, we just need yes men. We don't need like the creative people at every level that come up with these ideas. Yeah.
I'll end on this note too. I think the bubble with mass shovelware has kind of popped. We're seeing more.
It's just starting, bro.
You think it's just starting? You just think it's just starting to happen? Because I think as far as AAA, we've seen like there's been a lot of like just unfeeling releases, but I think, like as I mentioned before in previous episodes, I think the Indiana Jones game really showed love and care for a AAA title. We said that a lot of times it's not it's not what it is, but if you have a chance, check out that Indiana Jones game for a AAA developer who clearly cares about the source material. I'll say that as like an exception to what's happening now, but looking on the horizon of what's coming this year, it seems like a lot of AAA. I'm hoping it's a lot of AAA passion projects and not a lot of AAA trying to cash in on nostalgia. So we will see where it comes from, but I think that's why I think that the bubble that we're talking about, that's why I think it popped already, because we're getting a lot of stuff that, at least for me, it's stuff that I've loved as a kid growing up, but maybe they're cashing on my nostalgia.
It definitely are, dude. It's already, I heard this from like a Hollywood director as well, where they're talking with an actress and she wanted to delete her Instagram, and they're like, oh, don't do that because I have to justify to the studio heads
Why to cast you?
Why I hired you. Like you need like X amount of like followers and all this like social media presence to justify like the paydays and stuff. You can't just be like great at a thing. So I think nostalgia is part of it. It's like already built in marketing. I think they look at like the most cynical view of these things. They look at like a spreadsheet. That's why they can just fire swaths of people and not really think about it. They don't understand like institutional knowledge. They don't understand like office dynamics of like what that does to morale. They don't understand
I think they do. Like the creativity. I think they've cost benefited it, and the cost outweighed the benefit.
It's a spreadsheet.
So,
they don't even think about that. They're just like, oh, we can make profits up this quarter by deleting this whole wing of people. It's like it's not great, and this happens everywhere. So I think this is only the beginning, bro. I think it's only going to get worse. I think like every chart I've seen indicates like it's like doubling the amount of like indie games that are like dropping on Steam like year after year, and like every other year they're like, this is the indie apocalypse. I don't really think that ever for anything.
I don't either.
I don't think like all the studios could go bankrupt. People are still going to be making cinema and film, and all the big major book publishers could go out of business. People are still going to write books.
Yep.
All the major music producers could go bankrupt, and people still want to make music.
Yep.
For them. I think you could see maybe like more of a premium on like live entertainment or like social gathering type situations or interactive game media where it's like you're putting.
Bring it back, bro. You're going. Bring it back.
That's all I'm saying. It's like they're saying that about board games. More board games are being made, and more people are buying them now than ever. So,
yep.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think there's gonna have to be like updates on like how people are finding their games and stuff. But I've said that from the rip, dude. Don't pre-order. Don't buy the DLC and shit before you play or whatever. Get it in front of you.
That's true.
Try a demo. Try and get off Steam. Try and get on like GOG, like DRM.
Steam Next
stuff.
Fest, I think, is the best thing Valve has done for the a smaller creator in a long time.
Buy cassette tapes, dude. Physical
advertising
media,
and showing smaller projects on their large platform, I think, is phenomenal. So I hope it's helping other indie devs. I'd like to do research in the future. Maybe we'll revisit the pod, and maybe we'll get somebody who's experienced it to talk about it, of how Steam Next Fest has helped them or hindered them. Maybe visibility isn't what I thought on the outset. We'll have to find out and see. But man, for the Combo Wombo podcast, I'm Mr. Gimpy. That's Chipmunk, and
the cream always rises to the top.
All right, we're on X now for some god unknown reason. So check us out there, and like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next week.
We out.
We out.
Peace.